My daughter-in-law made my own son kick me out of his house. She looked me right in the eyes and said, "Babe, your mom is a burden. Get rid of her." And to my shock, he actually listened. After all the years I spent raising him, all the sacrifices I made, he stuffed my clothes into trash bags and slammed the door in my face like I was a stranger. I walked away with tears burning my eyes and anger clawing at my chest. They thought I had nothing. They thought I was broke, homeless, and helpless. But what they didn't know was that I had a secret one that would change everything. A week later, the same people who treated me like garbage were at my door, begging for help. This time, I was the one holding all the power. Let me take you back to the moment it all began. I was folding Daniel's shirts on the couch when I overheard Melissa's voice from the kitchen. She wasn't yelling, but her words cut through the silence like a knife. "Babe, we can't keep doing this. Your mom is a burden." That word burden felt like a slap across the face. I froze, clutching a shirt in my hands, praying I heard wrong. Then Daniel's soft voice came. "She's my mom, Melissa. She just needs time." But Melissa snapped back. "Time? She's been here for months. We're newlyweds. We need our own space. Not your mother sitting in the living room." Every time I walked by, my heart pounded so hard I could feel it in my throat. I didn't want to confront them, but my legs moved on their own. "Melissa," I said, stepping into the doorway, "if you've got something to say about me, say it to my face." She turned, smiling that fake sweet smile of hers. "Oh, hi. We were just talking about how it feels a little cramped." Daniel rubbed his forehead, not even meeting my eyes. That silence told me everything. "Cramped," I repeated, my voice shaking. "This is my son's home. I gave up everything for him, and now you're saying I don't belong here." Melissa folded her arms and leaned against the counter like she owned the place. "It's not personal, but it's time for you to move on. We need privacy. You understand, right?" My throat burned. "Move on to where? I don't have anywhere else to go." Melissa's voice turned soft, but her eyes were cold. "That's not my problem, Daniel. Tell her." I looked at my son, praying he'd defend me. His voice cracked. When he finally spoke, "Mom, maybe Melissa's right. Maybe it's time you found your own place." Those words shattered me. My own flesh and blood, the boy I nursed through fevers, the boy I worked 2 jobs to send to college, was choosing her over me. I whispered, "You're kicking me out." My voice broke on the last word. He didn't answer. Melissa stepped closer, her perfume choking me. "Don't make this harder than it has to be. You're strong, right? You'll figure it out." I looked around at the family photos on the walls, birthdays, dinners, smiles that now felt fake. My hands trembled, but I forced out the words, "Fine." I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing me beg. Melissa smirked. "We packed your things," she said, nodding toward the door. 2 black trash bags sat there like piles of garbage waiting for pickup. I walked to the door, but then I noticed her phone pointed at me. "Melissa, what are you doing?" She grinned. "Just documenting. You know, in case anyone says we threw you out unfairly." "Delete that," I snapped. "Or what?" She shot back, smug. Daniel finally stepped in, his voice weak. Melissa stopped, but she just slipped the phone into her pocket, still smiling. I picked up the trash bags, my arms heavy, my chest even heavier. At the door, I looked back at my son one last time. He wouldn't even meet my eyes. "I hope you're happy," I whispered. His lips parted, but no words came. I walked out. Each step in that hallway echoed like a hammer against my heart. When the door slammed behind me, I didn't cry, not yet. I gripped those bags tighter and whispered to myself, "You'll regret this. Both of you will." Out on the street, I walked with my head held high, even though I was breaking inside. If anyone saw me, they'd just see a strong woman carrying 2 trash bags, not a mother who'd just been thrown away by her own son. At the corner, I set the bags down, took a shaky breath, and called a cab. My story wasn't over. In fact, it was just beginning. My hands shook as I scrolled through my contacts, not because I was scared of being homeless, but because I had a secret Melissa didn't know. She thought she'd thrown out some broke, helpless woman. What she didn't realize was that I had choices, better choices than she could ever dream of. When the cab pulled up, the driver asked kindly, "Where to, ma'am?" I gave him an address. I hadn't spoken in months. The ride was quiet, but my mind wasn't. It was racing. Daniel's first day of school, his graduation, the wedding where Melissa stood by his side with that fake sweet smile of hers. Every memory stabbed at me like a knife. When we stopped, I stepped out in front of a tall white gate. I punched in the code, and the heavy iron doors swung open to reveal a house that would silence anyone who ever doubted me. My late husband's beach house. He left it to me. Only me, not Daniel. And definitely not Melissa. I dragged the trash bags up the stone path and unlocked the door. The moment I stepped inside, I didn't feel peace. I felt fire. They thought I was a burden. No, I was a storm they never saw coming. I dropped the bags in the hall, went straight to the kitchen, grabbed a bottle of wine, and poured myself a glass. Leaning against the counter, I looked at the cabinets Michael and I picked out together. "You'd be proud of me, Michael," I whispered. "You always told me to stand tall. Well, here I am." My phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. "Mom, I'm sorry. Please understand." I stared at the words for a long time, my fingers itching to reply. But sorry doesn't erase betrayal. Sorry doesn't erase the image of Melissa's smirk as I walked out with my life stuffed into garbage bags. I locked the phone and left it on the counter. They didn't deserve my words. Not now. I carried my wine to the balcony. The ocean stretched out under the night sky, calm and endless. But I wasn't calm. All I could see was Melissa's smug face, her voice dripping with entitlement. "A burden," I muttered, gripping the glass so hard my knuckles turned white. She wanted space. Fine. She was about to get more space than she could handle. I pulled out the small leather journal I kept hidden in the drawer. Slowly, I wrote, pressing the pen so hard it almost tore through the page. "Never again will I let them treat me like nothing." I underlined it twice. That wasn't just a thought. It was a vow, a plan. They thought they won tonight, but they didn't realize I still held all the cards, every single one. I took another sip of wine and let a small smile tug at my lips. Because deep down, I knew the truth. The game had only just begun. The next morning, I woke to the sound of waves crashing outside. For a moment, I felt calm. But then Daniel's voice came back to me soft-broken, telling me to leave. And Melissa's smirk cut through my memory like a blade. My chest burned with anger. I made myself a cup of coffee and checked my phone. No messages from Daniel. None from Melissa. The silence told me everything. They'd moved on, like I didn't matter. I should have been heartbroken. But instead, something else grew inside me. Anger, not just for what they did, but for the way Melissa strutted around like she'd won. That woman wasn't happy just having Daniel's love. She wanted control. And she probably thought she had it. I scrolled through social media, and there she was, Melissa, posting a photo from the night before, her hand flashing Daniel's diamond bracelet under the restaurant lights. The caption read, "Date night with my everything." My stomach twisted. Daniel didn't have money for date nights. He was still drowning in student loans. So where was this money coming from? Without thinking, I called him. He answered after 3 rings. "Mom." His voice sounded tired. "Daniel," I said slowly. "Where are you?" "Home," he replied. But I could hear laughter in the background, Melissa's laugh. "What do you need?" he asked. "I need to know why Melissa is posting pictures at expensive restaurants when you two are barely scraping by," I pressed. Silence, then a sigh. "Mom, please don't start. Melissa deserves nice things. She's my wife." "Nice things." My voice shook. "Daniel, a few months ago you couldn't even afford groceries without my help." "I'll figure it out," he snapped. "I've been picking up extra shifts. We're fine." But I knew he was lying. I could hear it in his voice, and before I could say more, Melissa's voice rang out in the background. "Who's that, babe? Your mom again?" Then the line went dead. I stared at my phone, fury rising inside me. Melissa was spending money she didn't earn, digging Daniel deeper into debt just so she could parade around like a queen. And Daniel blind, love was letting her. I set the phone down and gripped the counter so hard my hands ached. That night, sitting on the balcony with my journal open, I wrote one simple line. Melissa isn't just greedy, she's dangerous. And I wasn't wrong. 2 days later, a mutual friend told me something that made my blood boil. Daniel had taken out a personal loan, $10,000. He told the bank it was for future plans. Future plans. My foot. That money wasn't for a house or a family. It was dangling from Melissa's wrist and hanging in her closet. I called Daniel right away, my voice shaking with anger. "Daniel, are you out of your mind?" "Mom, stop," he groaned, his tone sharp and frustrated. "We're fine. Melissa just wants to make our home beautiful." By putting you in debt, I snapped. You think that's love. You think that's marriage. He went quiet, then muttered words that cut me deeper than I expected. You wouldn't understand. You've been alone for years. For a moment, I bit my lip to stop the tears. You're right, I whispered. I wouldn't understand wanting to impress someone who's bleeding me dry. Before he could answer, Melissa's voice came through the line, sweet but dripping with venom. Listen, she said. Daniel doesn't need your negativity. He's building a life with me, so please stay out of it. My jaw clenched. Melissa, I see exactly what you're doing. Good, she laughed. Then you know you can't stop it. The line went dead. The silence that followed was heavier than stone. I stood there staring at the waves outside, but this time, I didn't cry. I smiled, just a small, dangerous smile, because she was wrong. I could stop it, and I would. What I didn't know then was just how far Melissa was willing to go. It happened sooner than I expected. I was sitting in the kitchen, staring at my phone, debating whether to call Daniel again, when it suddenly rang. His name lit up the screen. My heart leapt, part of me stupidly hoping he'd finally opened his eyes. Daniel, I answered. His voice was shaky. Mom, she's gone. My grip on the phone tightened. Gone. What do you mean? Gone, she left. I came home, and everything, her clothes, her jewelry, the TV, it's all gone. His voice cracked. She left a note. My stomach turned cold. Daniel, where are you? At the apartment. His breath hitched. Mom, she left a note. What did it say? He read it out loud, his voice breaking. Don't call me. I need more than you can give. For a second, I couldn't speak. Part of me wanted to scream. I told you so. But instead, I asked the only question that mattered. Daniel, how much did she take? Silence, then, barely above a whisper. Everything. Every cent from our joint account. He paused, then added, and the loan. My heart stopped. Loan? What loan? 10,000. I thought she said it was for us. For the future. I gripped the table so hard my nails dug into the wood. Daniel, you fool. She played you from the start. He made a sound between a sob and a growl. Don't say that, Daniel. I cut him off, my voice sharp. Look around. She's gone with your money. What else do you need to see? The silence that followed was unbearable. Then I heard him whisper, broken. I have nothing left, Mom. Nothing. For a moment, I just listened to his shallow breathing on the other end. Then he whispered the words that cracked me wide open. I need you. My chest ached. A part of me wanted to hang up, to let him suffer in the mess he chose. But I couldn't. The mother in me wouldn't allow it. Stay where you are, I said softly, though my voice trembled with rage I couldn't hide. When he hung up, I sat there staring at the dark screen, my mind racing. Melissa had done it. She stripped him clean and vanished into the night. I poured myself a drink with shaky hands and sat by the window, watching the waves crash. That's when my phone buzzed again, an unknown number. I opened it and my breath caught. A photo, Melissa lying on a sunbed in a bikini, laughing. A man's hand holding hers. Below it, 2 words, too late. My vision blurred with rage. I wanted to throw the phone across the room, but instead I forced myself to stare at it until my pulse slowed. If she thought this was over, she was wrong. Very wrong. Because in that moment, something inside me changed. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was ready. Ready to show Melissa exactly what happens when you try to destroy a mother and walk away. Smiling, I didn't answer right away. Part of me wanted to scream, good, you deserve it. But instead, I stayed quiet and let Daniel talk. She cleaned me out, he said, his voice breaking. Every penny. The savings, the loan, everything. I don't even have enough left for rent. I closed my eyes, gripping the phone so tight. It hurt, Daniel, I said slowly. You kicked me out for her. You believed her lies, and now what? You expect me to just forget? I'm sorry, he whispered, and the sound of it almost broke me. Almost sorry doesn't fix this, I shot back, my voice sharper than I meant. That's when I heard Itriel's sobs. Not the kind you fake, but the kind that tears straight out of your chest. I don't know what to do, Mom, he cried. I have nothing, nowhere to go. I sat there, staring at the waves slamming against the rocks outside. This was my chance. I could close the door on him forever, call it karma, let him drown in the mess he chose. But then, in his voice, I heard something I hadn't heard in years. Not a grown man, a boy, my boy, the same boy I once rocked through fevers, The boy who thought I could fix anything. Mom, please, he whispered again, softer this time. Can I stay with you? I swallowed hard, forcing down the heat rising in my throat. You think it's that simple? No, he said quickly. I know I don't deserve it. I was wrong about everything. I'm so sorry for what I said, for what I did. Please, just give me a chance. His words tore through me like an old wound reopening. I let the silence stretch, crushing him. Finally, I said, calm and steady, Daniel, you made your choice, and I made mine. He sucked in a sharp breath. Mom, please, I cut him off. I can't promise anything right now. Then I ended the call. My hands were shaking when I set the phone down, but it wasn't weakness this time. It was something else. Power. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt it humming under my skin. 2 days ago, they thought I was a burden. Tonight, my son was begging for help, and deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. 2 days passed after that call. No messages. No knocks at the door. I assumed Daniel had taken my silence as his answer. Honestly, I was fine with that. I wasn't ready to forgive. Not after everything. But on the third night, there was a knock. I froze, wineglass in hand, staring at the door like it was a ghost come to life. My first thought was Daniel. My second, God help me, was Melissa. I opened it slowly. There stood Daniel, hollow-eyed and broken, and behind him, clinging to his arm like a parasite, was Melissa. Her hair was a mess, makeup smudged, her face streaked with tears, but what stopped me cold wasn't her tears. It was her hands. They were resting on a belly. She was pregnant. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Mom, Daniel said quietly, his voice shaking. Please, we need a place to stay. I stared at him, then at her. Every part of me screamed to slam the door, but I didn't move. Melissa stepped forward, putting on her show. Tears rolled down her cheeks, her voice soft, fragile. I'm so sorry, she whispered. Please, let me explain. I laughed, a bitter, sharp laugh that startled even me. Explain. You emptied his accounts. You ran off with another man. What could you possibly explain? Her lip trembled. I made a mistake. He lied to me. Said he'd take care of me, but he scammed me. He took everything. I didn't know what else to do. I had nowhere to go. I turned my eyes to Daniel. And you believe this? He swallowed hard, shame written all over his face. She's pregnant, Mom. I can't just leave her out there. My gaze dropped to her stomach. A part of me softened, because that child didn't ask for any of this. But then Melissa spoke again, and the softness vanished. Please, she begged, clutching her belly. Don't think about me. Think about the baby. He deserves a home. A home, I repeated, the word bitter on my tongue. And after everything you did, you expect me to open mine to you. Yes, Daniel said quickly, stepping forward. Mom, please, just until we figure things out. My heart twisted. I hated her, hated everything about her. But I looked at my son, broken and desperate, and I couldn't bring myself to say, no, not yet. Fine, I said coldly, stepping aside. But hear me, both of you. One mistake, and you're out for good. Melissa nodded fast, tears streaming down her face. Thank you, she whispered, clutching her stomach like it was her shield. I didn't answer. I just led them inside, set up the guest room, and tried not to think about how wrong this felt. But that night, as I passed their door, I froze. Through the crack, I heard her voice, low and sweet. Don't worry, babe, Melissa whispered. She believes me. And in that moment, my blood ran cold. I stood there in the dark, listening to her soft laugh, and I knew this wasn't over, not even close. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Melissa's smirk, heard her whisper, she believes me. By sunrise, my mind was made up. She wasn't here out of love for my son, she was here because she needed shelter. And that baby she kept clutching like a winning ticket. My gut told me it wasn't even Daniel's. In the kitchen, I found her eating toast like she owned the place. Morning, she chirped. Doctor's appointment today, I said flatly. Her eyes flickered. Next week. Let's move it up. She hesitated, then forced a smile. Sure, if Daniel can take me. No, I said, grabbing my keys. I'll take you. The smile didn't reach her eyes, but she agreed. On the drive, she babbled about baby names and nursery colors like nothing had happened. I barely responded, my mind already 3 steps ahead. At the clinic, I played the doting mother-in-law king about vitamins, holding her purse. But the moment I was alone, I slipped into the restroom, pocketed a tissue she'd used, and tucked it safely away. That night, I mailed it to a private lab with a strand of Daniel's hair I'd kept from an old cap. Waiting nearly killed me. Meanwhile, Melissa turned up the charm cooking dinner, complimenting my furniture, even calling me mom. Daniel ate it up, smiling like his life was back on track. I wanted to scream, "Open your eyes." Instead, I smiled and sipped my wine. 4 days later, the envelope came. My hands shook as I opened it. I prayed I was wrong, but the words sliced me open. Probability of paternity, 0%. The baby wasn't Daniel's. I sat frozen, staring until the letters blurred. Then Melissa's voice cut through the air. "What's that?" She stood in the doorway, eyes sharp beneath her soft tone. I smiled tightly. Nothing important, but inside, I knew. Everything had just changed. I had the truth now, and it was a weapon. I hid the report, waiting for the right moment. Daniel had to see for himself, otherwise he'd only blame me. Meanwhile, Melissa played perfect, smiling, rubbing her belly like it was a crown. And then one morning, she was gone. The house was silent, too silent, the guest room empty, clothes, bags vanished. My heart pounded as I opened my banking app. $80,000. Gone. "No," I whispered, then louder. "No, no, no." My voice echoed through the empty house. Rage clawed up my throat. She had stripped me clean. I grabbed my phone, called Daniel. He answered groggy. "Mom, what's wrong? What's wrong?" I snapped. "Melissa stole from me. 80,000. She's gone." Silence. Then, a bitter laugh. "Of course she did." I stopped pacing. "Daniel, there's something else you need to know." "That baby don't." He cut me off, his voice flat. "I already know. She told me last night after you went to bed." My breath caught. "She told you?" "Yeah." "Said it wasn't mine. Said she didn't want to live a lie. Then she left." I thought maybe she'd just walk out. But now this. His voice cracked. "Mom, I'm such an idiot." My anger twisted into something heavier. Guilt. "Listen to me," I said firmly. "This isn't over. We're calling the police. We're reporting everything. She's not getting away with this." He didn't answer right away. When he finally spoke, his voice was so small, it nearly broke me. "Do you think they'll find her?" I gripped the phone tighter. "They will," I said, more to convince myself than him. After the call, I just sat there, staring at the wall while fury pounded in my chest. It wasn't just about the money. It was the humiliation, the nerve of that woman. She walked into my house, ate my food, smiled in my face, and then gutted me like I was nothing. I thought I had already seen the worst she could do. I was wrong. Melissa was just getting started. And if the police didn't find her fast, I would, because one way or another, she was going to pay for every tear, every sleepless night, every dollar she stole. I barely slept after filing the police report. My mind wouldn't stop racing her fake tears, her laugh, the way she strutted out of my home with my money like it was hers. I wanted to trust the police, but deep down I feared she'd slip away and live the good life on my savings with that lover of hers. The phone rang the next morning. "Mrs. Hayes, this is Officer Turner. We've located the suspect." For a second, I couldn't even breathe. You found her?" "Yes, ma'am. She tried using your credit card at a boutique 2 towns over. We have her in custody. The baby is safe. We'll need you to come in and sign paperwork." Relief hit me so hard my knees almost buckled. I grabbed my keys and drove straight there, rehearsing what I'd say if I had to see her. But nothing prepared me for it. Melissa in that cold gray room, wrists cuffed, her once perfect hair hanging limp. She looked up at me and actually smiled. Well, she said softly. "Guess you got what you wanted." My jaw clenched until it hurt. "What I wanted? You stole $80,000. You lied. You cheated. You ruined lives, and you think this is what I wanted?" Her smirk faltered, replaced by a glare sharp as glass. "You think you've won. You have no idea what I've lost because of you." I laughed bitterly. "You lost because you're greedy. Because you're stupid." She leaned forward. Eyes, Doc, that money was nothing compared to what I could have had. "But you ruined it. You and your pathetic son." My fists curled tight at my sides. "That pathetic son was ready to give you the world, and you spat on it. Now you'll rot for what you did." She tilted her head, smiling again, and whispered, "You'll regret this." Before I could answer, the officer stepped in and handed me paperwork. I signed my name like I was carving it into stone. Then they handed me the baby, a tiny bundle wrapped in a soft blue blanket. I froze, staring down at the little face. He wasn't mine. He wasn't even Daniel's. But when his tiny fingers curled around mine, something inside me cracked and healed. As I left the station, Melissa's words echoed in my head. You'll regret this. No, the only one with regrets now was her. When I pulled into the driveway, Daniel was already outside, pale and hollow-eyed. He rushed to the car and froze when he saw the baby. Mom, what? She's in jail, I said flatly, stepping out. Fraud, theft, identity crimes. They're keeping her. This, I looked down at the boy in my arms, is all she left behind. Daniel's hands shook as he reached to touch the baby's cheek. I don't know what to say. Then don't, I whispered, brushing past him into the house. He followed, guilt rolling off him in waves. I set the baby in the old bassinet I'd dragged out of storage and turned to him. What now, Daniel? He rubbed his face, voice breaking. I'll take care of him. I'll do whatever it takes, even if he's not mine. The words slipped out before I could stop them. He isn't yours. His head snapped up, eyes wide. What? You didn't know. My voice was softer now, almost pitying. She admitted it to you, didn't she? He nodded, tears brimming. Yeah, she told me. I just didn't want to believe it. His shoulders crumpled as sobs tore out of him, and as I watched the boy I raised fall apart, something inside me shifted too. But this time, it wasn't weakness, it was strength. I walked over, laid a hand on his trembling shoulder, and whispered, Then believe this blood doesn't make a family, I said quietly. Loyalty does, and you've got a second chance to prove it. Daniel lifted his head, eyes red and swollen, and gave the smallest nod. Days bled into weeks. We found a rhythm, me caring for the baby during the day, Daniel working 2 jobs, coming home bone-tired but determined. I watched him change, watched him rebuild, piece by piece, and for the first time in years, I felt proud of him again. One afternoon, I sat rocking the baby on the porch when Daniel dropped into the chair beside me. His voice was barely above a whisper. Thank you, Mom, for not giving up on me. I looked at him, then down at the tiny boy sleeping in my arms, his little chest rising and falling. Something warm spread through me, quiet but steady. We all make mistakes, Daniel, I said softly, but what matters is what we do after. He nodded, his eyes fixed on the horizon, like he was seeing hope for the first time in a long while. I smiled, too. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, I let myself feel it. But deep down, I knew the truth. Peace is fragile. As I listened to the baby's soft breaths, I made myself a promise. No one would ever hurt us like that again. Not while I was still breathing. Melissa thought she could break me. But in the end, I walked away with the one thing she could never steal, never fake, never buy. A family. That's today's story. If it touched you, leave a like and subscribe. And don't forget, share your own life lesson in the comments below.